Hi everyone. Now, whether you sell products, services, or anything else, what you really sell is trust. So today, we are going to learn 20 ways to build trust and authority with your audience. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alan, and on this channel, we talk all things sales funnels and online business. Now, like I mentioned, no matter what you sell, trust is probably the most important factor when it comes to selling just about anything. For example, did you buy that latest dog food or laptop or microphone or any other kind of accessory that you care about? Did you buy it because of its features, because of its new coating or other bell or whistle, or did you buy it because you trusted it to do the job and to give you the future outcome that you were looking for? Now, keep in mind that the job that you want it to do isn't always so obvious. So for example, if you buy a Apple or Dell laptop, maybe half of the job you want it to do is being functional, but the other half is for it to serve as a fashion statement or some other kind of beacon that lets people know more about you. Now, just about every time that somebody rejects your offer, whether that be for a date or to hire you or to buy your product or whatever, the reason why they are saying no is because they just don't trust you to deliver the outcome that they are looking for. So again, no matter what you think you sell, what you really sell more than anything else is trust. Now, while you probably shouldn't follow every single tactic that we are going to talk about today, you should find the right mix for your product or service or audience and market. So let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at the 20 ways to build trust and authority with your market and audience. Now, before we talk about how to build trust, let's start by talking about how definitely not to. Now, don't feel bad if you already do these things, as most businesses, marketers, and entrepreneurs do. But the thing to keep in mind is that not only do these things not build trust, they actually inspire distrust. So let's take a look. Now, the first behavior to avoid when you're looking to build trust is over-availability. Now, this means being available at the drop of a hat. So I'm ready whenever you are, today, tomorrow, on the weekend, whenever you want, I'm here for you. Related to that is pushiness and neediness. Now, both of these factors that we've talked about so far pretty much broadcast neediness and pretty much desperation that you don't have other options. Another common practice that inspires distrust is displaying your trophies. So for example, if your prospect walks in and all around your office, you have a bunch of trophies and plaques and whatever about all these sales awards you've won and pretty much all of the other game that you have taken down, that actually does nothing to inspire confidence in your buyer or prospect. Now, those sales trophies are actually a million times more for your peers and for you, but they actually do the opposite thing of what you want them to do when it comes to your prospects, which is to buy from you or hire you or otherwise give you their money. As for how you should build trust, the first way we are going to look at today is to borrow it. So of course, if you are new to a market or niche or industry or whatever, then you probably don't have enough content or trust of your own. So why not borrow someone else's? Now, there is actually a ton of ways to borrow trust and authority. So the most obvious example would be to get a degree from Harvard. Now, this would be borrowing the credibility from Harvard and attaching it to yourself. And you can do this in a lot of other ways. You can do this with influencer marketing by paying somebody with a lot of followers to promote your brand or product. Now, there are a lot of ways to borrow trust and credibility, but the point is that even if you don't have enough content or trust or credibility in your market or intended niche, then somebody else does already have that trust and you can probably access it. Now, of course, borrowing this trust from somebody else will be easier in some cases or with some people more than others, but in any case, see what you can do to borrow someone else's. The next way to build trust is by association, which is kind of similar to borrowing it, but you can think of trust by association as kind of the adult professional version of who you hang out with. This means that your prospects could see who you are associated with. So this could be celebrities or organizations or schools or experiences or events you have spoken at or anything like that. And probably the best way to build trust by association is with your past clients. Because whether you like it or not, most prospects are dying to tell their friends and peers that their Facebook manager or car detailer or personal trainer is the same one that trains Elon Musk or Beyonce or whoever. So just keep in mind that the point here is to be seen or associated with these celebrities or people or associations that you want to increase your trust as well. The next way to build trust is with an introduction or mutual contact. This is kind of a combination between trust by association and borrowing trust. But in any case, think back to any dating situation or mechanic situation or anything like that. People have evolved to trust people who are like them. And if you have a mutual contact or friend, then they are bound to trust you more than anyone else. So not only are suggestions from friends and family more trusted than anything else, but in most cases, those suggestions or referrals are even over-trusted because they don't want to offend the referring friend or family member. The next way to build trust is probably the most effective yet least utilized way, which is to just listen. Now, above money or power or anything else, what humans want more than anything is to be heard, to be listened to be understood, and to be appreciated. Now, listening to someone pretty much solves all of those needs. And if you don't believe me that finding someone who genuinely listens is hard to come by, then go tell literally anyone about your favorite song or movie or app or whatever, and tell me how long it takes until their eyes glaze over and they tell you something like, "Damn, that's crazy." Now remember that everyone's favorite radio station in the entire world is WIIFM, which is What's in It for Me. So do your friends and prospects a huge solid by actually shutting up and listening. And this does not mean just nodding and waiting for your turn to tell them about that time that the same thing happened to you or to one up whatever happened to them. The next way to build trust is with prescription. Now, this means giving somebody a customized, personalized solution. So imagine you go into the doctor's office and you tell them, "Hey, I feel bad, I feel sick." And the doctor doesn't even look up at you and they say, "You probably have this. Here, take this." You're probably going to be pretty mad at that. But on the other hand, if the doctor says, "Oh my God, we have to check you out right now. We have to run some blood tests and hair tests and saliva tests and so forth." And then they do, and they tell you exactly what they saw in there. And then they give you their options, and then they give you some next steps. Of course, you will trust them much more. Now, keep in mind that prescription is pretty much the second half of listening, because obviously you have to listen first, and then you analyze what their problem is, and then you suggest something to fix it. The next way to build trust is by offering and having a content library. Now, the short story here is that you want your audience and prospects to be at least able to spend a few hours consuming your Instagram posts, YouTube videos, blog posts, ebooks, or anything like that. Now, it probably won't surprise you that my personal suggestion is that they be able to hear your voice and see your face and a bit of your personality, which I prefer video, but whatever works for you is fine. For more on how to have endless content ideas, then definitely check out my video here or in the description below. The next way to build trust is by writing a book. Now, I know that this can sound scary to a lot of people at first, but just keep in mind that old quote that says, "You can't spell authority without author." The best inspiration that I have found to get people to write their own book is to remember way back to high school or college or wherever where you would write 5, 10, 20, 50-page papers. Now, if you were willing to do that much work and put in that much effort into something that really didn't matter at all, then why wouldn't you be willing to put in at least a similar amount into something that would grow your business and put money in your pocket? The next way to build trust is by eating your own cooking. Now, this pretty much means doing or consuming whatever it is that you're trying to sell. So you might be surprised at how many ad agencies don't use ads to market, or how many coaches don't have coaches themselves, or how many personal trainers are a little bit more overweight than they should be. Now, I know this isn't always easy or practical to do to consume whatever it is that you sell, but in any case, try to make it as visible and apparent as possible that you yourself are a consumer of whatever it is you're trying to get them to buy. The next way to build trust is with a demonstration. Now, this pretty much comes down to the very accurate quote of "I'll believe it when I see it." The next way to build trust is by increasing it in the seller themselves. Now, anytime a salesperson is involved, what the customer or client is really buying is actually the seller much more than whatever is being sold. In fact, once they trust the seller, then they will pretty much trust every suggestion that comes from them. And the reason for this is that people we can trust is extremely hard to find, which is why when you find a good mechanic or dentist or coach or something like that, not only do you trust everything that they say, you are often trying to refer them to everyone that you know. So do the opposite of what most businesses do, which is try to build the trust in their product or service itself, and instead try to build trust in the seller or your brand. The next way to build trust is by admitting your flaws. Now, I know that a lot of marketers, entrepreneurs, MBAs, and so forth are terrified of saying anything negative about their product, service, or brand. But the problem with only speaking positively about your product or service is that 1, they flat out won't believe you, and 2, they won't relate to you. So even if they do believe you, if you're a personal trainer and you tell them about how you lost 100 pounds in 10 days, even if that's true, that will make you unrelatable, which will still make them not want to buy from or hire you. The next way to build trust is with affinity, which is pretty much shared interests. Now, these shared interests can be pretty much anything, such as the same hometown, or your favorite sports team, or the last place you vacationed to, or an event you spoke at, or your politics if you want to get a little risky. So whether it's your sales pitch, your discovery call, your public speaking speech at an event, try to throw in a few little quirky details here and there about yourself that some people can latch onto so that you can be relatable. Now, keep in mind that this works even if they disagree with you. So if you say that your favorite basketball team is the Warriors and theirs is the Lakers, even if they disagree with you, they will still relate to you because you're both basketball fans. The next way to build trust is with longevity. Now, right or wrong, people naturally trust bigger numbers more than smaller numbers. So it may benefit you to tell your audience how long you've been in business. You could say established in, or serving customers since, or like McDonald's used to do, however million customers sold, and anything like that. Now, of course, this will work better for some niches more so than in others, such as banks or fashion or stuff like that. But in any case, try to throw in longevity to build trust as well. The next way to build trust are with exclusivity and barriers. Now, I know a lot of people are terrified of saying no to potential customers or setting up any barriers at all to people buying from you, but this can actually help a lot. So we already mentioned earlier that doing the opposite of this can actually inspire distrust. If you're too available, if you're ready all the time, if you take on any clients, that can actually make you seem too desperate or too available or too not in demand or pretty much just low quality. However, you can increase trust by setting up barriers. So you can do this by requiring an application to work with you, or by setting strict hours, or by having a very strict niche, or service or product that is totally non-customizable. Now, you may have heard of this being used with restaurants and nightclubs, which is when even if it's empty inside, they will still create an artificial long line out front just so that all the passersby can make it look or at least think like, oh wow, it's so busy, it's so packed, it must be good. Now again, setting up barriers can be a little scary, and I know some people are very resistant to it, but keep in mind that people love to be chosen, to be part of exclusive communities, to be the one person that gets that thing. So give it to them. The next way to build trust is with high prices. Now, one of my favorite stories to tell, which I'm going to butcher right now, I read in Dan Ariely's book, Predictably Irrational. Now, the point of the story is that black pearls were discovered about 100 years ago in Tahiti or something, and people tried selling them for $10 each, for $1 each, for 5 cents, 1 penny each, and nobody bought them. But next thing you know, somebody had the bright idea to sell them for $100 each. And guess what happened? They sold all of them. So the point here is that even though everyone in the world will tell you that they prefer to pay less for things, in real life, most people prefer to pay more for things. And if this wasn't the case, then Ferraris wouldn't exist, Gucci wouldn't exist, Apple wouldn't exist, and many more. One way to think about this is that if you go to your local Home Depot or home improvement store, you will probably see hammers. You will see one that's for $5 and one that's for $20. Now, whichever one of those two that you yourself would buy, you're probably going to say, I would choose the $5 one because that's the smart choice. Or I would buy the $20 one because it has the little flashlight on it and because it's made out of this metal and blah, blah, blah. But none of those things are actually the case. The truth is that whichever hammer those people buy, the $5 or the $20 one, has almost nothing to do with the hammer or the features on it. It has a million times more to do with the buyer themselves. Also remember the great quote that says, those who pay attention, which pretty much means you're actually doing your prospects a favor by charging them more. So for example, obviously you see these books behind me. Now I hear people all the time say, oh, I read that book, it was cool. But what most people do with books, because they're only $15 or $20, is they thumb through it, they read it, they forget about it, they throw it in a pile, and that's that. But if they go to a $10,000 seminar or a $1,000 course online or something like that, even if it's the exact same author and the exact same content, that same customer is a million times more likely to take action on that advice if they pay more for it. So do your prospects a favor and charge them more, because the more that you charge them, the more likely they are to actually listen to your advice. For more on the reasons and benefits to raise your prices, definitely check out my video here or in the description below. The next way to build trust is with a hyper-specific niche and or audience. Now, the goal here is for your target prospect to be able to raise their hand and say, hey, that's me. So one of the best ways that I've found to do this is to fill in this sentence. I help blanks to blank. So this could be, I help amateur runners to run their first marathon. I help software companies to reach $100 million in annual sales. But obviously it can be anything. Again, the point here is that you want your prospects to be able to say, hey, I'm an amateur runner who wants to run my first marathon, or whatever it is. The next way to build trust is with familiarity. Humans can't help but to like and trust things that they are more familiar with. Now, this can be your name, your face, your brand, your voice, or anything like that. Now, there's actually a great sales story or quote that I'm totally going to butcher here as well that goes something like this. The first time they hear about you, it doesn't even register. The third time they hear about you, they slightly remember you, but they quickly forget. The fifth time that they hear about you, they start to notice you. The seventh time that they hear about you, they start to consider you. The 10th time that they hear about you, they look into you and wonder if they should buy from you. The 12th time that they hear about you, they buy from you. And the 15th time that they hear about you, they tell all their friends about how they have been your #1 fan since day one. Now, you can build familiarity in a lot of ways, such as in Facebook groups, if people get to know your name as that helpful person who knows a lot. You could also do this with content marketing by having a lot of blog posts or YouTube videos available. You can also do this with retargeting advertisements. Now, I know some people are against ads, but this is one of the best ways to build familiarity, because retargeting is when you retarget or reshow ads to people who have already visited your website or taken some other kind of action where you can track them. The next way to build trust is with social proof, which pretty much means getting your audience to think that everyone else is already doing it. Now, whether we like to admit it or not, we are all sheep, including you and I. Now, this means that we generally prefer to do things in a group and that we prefer not to do things on our own or to be first. Now, you can build a social proof by showing people how many reviews you have, how high your ratings are, how many customers you have served, or with a celebrity endorsement with your past clients, pretty much in all of these ways. The next way to build trust is with strong risk reversal. Now, keep in mind, the fact that your prospects have arrived to you means that they have probably already tried something else and failed. So that means that your goal here is to remove all hesitation, all fear, all potential embarrassment that is in their head that they might lose money or lose status or be embarrassed or anything like that. A few ways to do this are by offering a money-back guarantee, or we'll work with you until you get it, or double your money-back guarantee, or keep the product even if you get a refund. And the absolute best way on earth to build trust and authority is to hit the like button and subscribe below. If you learned something interesting today, it does help a lot. For more help generating leads, building your list, and more, then definitely grab my 20 ways to get more leads and sales from your funnel below. Well, that wraps us up for today. Thanks everyone for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one.